From the moment Russia announced the creation of the T-14 Armata, expectations skyrocketed. This tank was supposed to revolutionize warfare, a masterpiece in armor, firepower, and stealth. But did it truly live up to the hype? The truth is, from day one, things went wrong in ways nobody anticipated. The first public appearance in 2015 turned into a spectacle of failure when one of the prototypes suddenly froze during rehearsals. A chilling reminder that promises and reality are worlds apart. Yet, despite this obvious setback, Moscow's propaganda machine kept spinning tales of a future battlefield dominated by the Armata. For over a decade, official reports claimed that hundreds of these tanks would be rolling into service soon. Bold plans to produce thousands were announced, with grand numbers like 2,300 tanks by 2020. But reality was harsher. Financial troubles and technical issues delayed production. The tanks officially entered service only in 2024, years behind schedule. On paper, it sounded impressive. The vehicle weighed up to 55 tons, powered by a 1,500 horsepower engine that could push it to 50 miles per hour. Its 125mm gun was capable of striking targets up to 5 miles away. And the unmanned turret promised cutting-edge technology, integrating a complex system of sensors, cameras, and weaponry. But does appearance matter more than performance? Experts quickly pointed out the glaring flaws. The engine was outdated and underpowered, incapable of matching modern counterparts. And what about the turrets? Those 360-degree sensors and multiple antennas, terrifying on paper, were fragile in practice. A single hit from a light machine gun could disable the entire system, rendering the turret useless in seconds. Even more worrying was the autoloader system, which was meant to increase firing speed. Yet, it proved unreliable and prone to failure. If it jammed, something that happened often, the crew had to switch to manual loading, slowing their fire to a mere 1 round per minute. Furthermore, Russia claimed the Armata would be nearly invisible, stealthy and hard to detect. But the truth told a different story. Many military analysts pointed out that its minimal infrared and radar signatures were more myth than reality. Its active protection system, designed to intercept incoming threats, had a critical flaw: the mortars supporting it were placed beneath the turret, making intercepts from above nearly impossible. That's exactly where modern anti-tank missiles and kamikaze drones strike. What made the situation even more contradictory? Prominent military officials acknowledged the tank's shortcomings. A former aerospace executive bluntly stated that the Armata was unsuitable for combat. If the tank had been the game-changer Moscow claimed, it would have features practically designed for victory in Ukraine. Yet, no sightings of the T-14 at any battlefield have been confirmed. Officially, it was supposed to deploy in 2023, but the reality is different. In 2024, a top official admitted the truth: the tank is simply too expensive to field. Instead, Russian forces rely on older models, T-90s and even T-62s, relics from the Soviet era. The legendary tanks of history are now overshadowed by costly failures. The Armata, once a symbol of Russia's military might, has become a monument to overhype and unfulfilled promises. What does this say about a nation so eager to showcase technological supremacy yet struggling to deliver? The failure of the T-14 Armata isn't just about tanks, it's a story of ambition, reality, and the harsh price of overconfidence. Imagine a tank so advanced it was hailed as the pinnacle of armored warfare, only to sputter to a halt during its grand reveal. The T-14 Armata, Russia's supposed game-changer, left roaring engines silent and ambitions shattered in the dust of Moscow's parade grounds. Did you know Russia's mighty arsenal, from hypersonic threats to stealth beasts, often crumbles under the weight of hype and flaws? Feel the metallic tang of betrayal as broken promises echo across frozen tundras. Can a machine that can't move prove deadlier than its rivals? This tale of overpromised power and underwhelming reality twists with each failed promise, humiliating pioneers and exposing cracks in empire's armor. In the echoes of that parade, where tracks ground to a halt amid cheers that faded into awkward silence, the Armata lingered in the spotlight, propped up by relentless propaganda. For over 15 years, from the project kickoff in 2009, officials paraded it as Russia's armored crown jewel. Stamps etched its silhouette, top brass boasted its supremacy, the Army dreamed of amassing around 2,300 units by 2020. Dreams shattered. Financial woes and production hiccups derailed timelines, clawing the tank into serial production only by late 2021, per Rostech's grim reports, and full service? Not until 2024, dragged years beyond vows. On paper, Allure pulses a beast up to 55 tons, fueled by a 1,500 horsepower roar, surging to 50 miles per hour, or 75 kilometers per hour. Its 125mm 2i821M cannon lashes out to 5 miles. Or 8 kilometers, with an unmanned turret crown. Stealth claims whisper, minimal infrared, magnetic, radar traces. Impressive? Perhaps in fantasies, but on battle-scarred Earth, it's a phantom failing to materialize. As hype swirled like artillery smoke, experts dissected flaws that sting like cold steel on skin. The engine, outdated and feeble against cutting-edge rivals, grumbles feebly. That prized unmanned turret? A labyrinth of sensors, antennas, sights, cameras, a complex web ripped apart by mere light cannon blasts or heavy machine gun fire, silencing it instantly. The autoloader looms vulnerable to failure, forcing crews to fumble manually for agonizingly slow 1 round per minute. Even the Afghanet shield falters, its mortars buried under the turret can't fend off overhead assaults from modern anti-tank missiles or kamikaze drones. Whispers of inadequacy grew louder. Former Roscosmos chief Dmitry Rogozin confessed outright, this tank unsuitable for real war, and why hasn't it stormed Ukraine's fields as predicted? No sightings, despite 2023 claims. Rostech head Sergei Kemezov admitted the truth, too pricey, swapped for trusty T-90 and hardy T-62 relics. Style over substance, embarrassment cloaked in steel, what twist hides the next flaw, as Russian pride crumbles like rust? The Terminator, in its debut in Ukraine's Donetsk region, rolled over a ridge, poised to unleash hell on the highway. But in mere minutes, a barrage of artillery forced it back, shaking the ground with deafening booms. Have you ever wondered why Russia's armored beasts crumble under real fire? The thrill of crunching gravel under tracks, the acrid stench of gunpowder hanging thick in the air, it's all a facade. This lumbering giant, built on a T-72 chassis, promised ironclad protection against mines and shrapnel. Yet, its turret stands exposed like a glaring weakness. Drones buzz overhead, missiles streak in, and even small arms pierce the vulnerability, disabling vital systems. Why build a fortress with an open gate? Experts shake their heads, knowing light weapons suffice to shatter the Terminator's illusions. It didn't take long for Ukraine to expose the truth. Early 2023 saw the first destruction, a Terminator reduced to smoking ruin, its metal groaning as it twisted apart under drone strikes. Open source trackers have cataloged more wreckage since. Russia built just 33 of these beasts, too costly, too complex, scarcely deployed amidst the war's fury. How does the so-called Terminator get vaporized by a single strategic drone? The irony bites deep, humiliation seeps through the cratered ground. Still, Russia presses on. In 2025, fresh units rolled out, clad in reactive armor for that extra sheen. Promotional clips proudly showcased the upgrades, but eagle-eyed observers spotted flaws right away. Cameras tremble with vibration as twin 30mm cannons roar to life, shaking wildly, spraying flames in erratic bursts. Tank expert Andrei Tarapenko scoffed at the spectacle, labeling it a quivering farce of empty boasts. Today, over a year since its last combat blare, the BMPT haunts like the T-72B3M with Arena, barely active, overshadowed by cheaper relics. The Terminator's saga ends in embarrassment, as Russia's dream of superiority crumbles, leaving you questioning, when will the next flop shatter the silence of the battlefield? From the chaotic failures of the BMPT Terminator, a armored beast that trembled more than terrified in Ukraine's war-torn fields, let's dive into Russia's naval nightmares, where iron dreams sink like stones in stormy seas. Imagine a vessel born from grand ambitions, launching not as a warrior but as a whimpering fool in the waves. Is this patrol ship a forgotten relic, or Russia's dumbest gamble yet, shattering on the rocks of reality? Russia's so-called superweapons aren't just duds on land or in the air. They're colossal flops at sea too, none more embarrassing than the Project 2216-0 patrol ship. Construction kicked off in 2014, churning out 6 hulls, one still scraping through the shipyards even now. Of those 5 that splashed into service between 2017 and 2024, one, the Sergei Kotov, has already vanished beneath the murky depths. Ukrainian forces struck on March 5, 2024, unleashing Magura V-5 naval drones that tore into it like sharpened claws, dragging the ship down with a metallic groan and churning froth. A Ka-29 helicopter perched on board? Vaporized in the same cold embrace, its rotors screeching to silence amid the salty spray. But this wasn't how the Kremlin envisioned their bold experiment. They hailed the Project 2216-0 as an innovative marvel for the Russian fleet, a jack-of-all-trades set to dominate the oceans. It was meant to sniff out enemy submarines with relentless precision, tangle with rival ships of equal or lesser might, unleash strikes on distant land or sea targets, shore up allies, and even shield against aerial threats. Feel the pull of that promise? The weight of command over cresting waves? The sharp scent of ozone from missile blasts? Alas, reality crashes in like a rogue wave. Despite its hefty 1,700 tons and over 300 foot, 94-meter length, this beast carries almost zero punch. A lone 76mm gun stands guard, flanked by basic machine guns and portable air defense systems, manpads, that flicker like dying sparks. No depth charges to drown subs. No heavy artillery to pulverize foes. No real teeth to claim the sea as its own. Originally, Russian minds borrowed the modular gimmick from American Dreams, a concept the US Navy toyed with years ago for their littoral combat ships. Swapping weapon blocks like puzzle pieces, they thought, adapting to any mission with ease. But as the Americans learned the hard way, these modules gobbled up fortunes in time and treasure, taking weeks to shuffle, outweighing any swagger. Did Russia heed the warning? Stubborn as a rusted anchor, they charged ahead, birthing a ship more fantasy than fleet. Even with spots for add-ons, it's mainly empty, like a shell echoing vacant promises. The grind of failures? Hear the distant echo of artillery shells against Ukrainian lines, stretching over a year. Modern war demands real might, not paper tigers. And as Russia's experts whisper in the shadows, tank expert Andrei Tarasenko mocking earlier flops? Naval voices damning this as the most abominable naval ship undertaking in Russia's modern saga. You wonder, can any of these so-called wonders ever rise above the abyss? All flaws eclipse strengths, leaving the project a bitter joke. But wait, whispers from Moscow hint at desperate tweaks, yet another twist in this tale of shattered steel. Will they salvage pride, or sink further into defeat's icy grip? Stay tuned to see if this naval ghost can challenge the depths or just linger as a sunken specter. Have you ever wondered how a nation's pride in its military might crumble under the weight of broken promises? From supersonic missiles to main battle tanks, Russia is notorious for boasting about groundbreaking innovations. Time and again, President Vladimir Putin and Kremlin officials unveil flashy fighter jets and missile systems hailed as game-changers. Yet, many of these superweapons fizzle into costly flops, rotting in warehouses instead of dominating battlefields. With countless Russian military blunders over the years, we'll spotlight 5 high-profile disasters from recent times, imagining the roar of engines fading to silence, the stench of unfulfilled vows lingering like oil-slick failure. Beginning with the T-14 Armata, hailed as the world's best tank, this beast carried the hopes of Russia's tank legacy, from the iconic T-34 with its thunderous 76mm gun to the flawed but feisty T-72 deployed worldwide. But the Armata unraveled from the start. On Russia's 2015 Victory Day parade, as crowds cheered and banners waved, a tank shuddered to a halt mid-rehearsal. What a shattering humiliation. Kremlin's relentless hype, stamps, speeches, plans for 2,300 units by 2020 crumbled. Delays in budget woes dragged it to serial production in late 2021, per state firm Rostec, with service entry confirmed only in 2024. Specs sound epic, up to 55 tons, 1,500 horsepower engine hitting 50 miles per hour or 75 kilometers per hour, 125 mm 2A-82-1M gun firing up to 5 miles or 8 kilometers, unmanned turret, stealth features minimizing infrared, magnetic, and radar signatures. But reality bites. The engine groans with outdated weakness, the complex turret bristles with vulnerable sensors, easily battered by cannon fire, rendering it useless. The autoloader risks failure, dooming fire rate to 1 pathetic round per minute. The Afghanet system? Mortars placed poorly under the turret can't fend off deadly top-down missiles or kamikaze drones. Even aerospace chief Dmitry Rogozin confessed it's unfit for war. Amid Ukraine's chaos, no sightings of Armata boss Sergei Chemezov admits it's too pricey, favoring T-90s and ancient T-62s. Expensive flash over real fury, it's a monument to Moscow's mirage. Could this relic of ambition actually humiliate its creators worse than any enemy? Watch as decay creeps in. Picking up where the Armada's failure echoes, Russia eyed America's literal combat ship concept for modular wonders, but the idea floundered in U.S. ports, ships too costly, modules swapping in agonizing weeks. Blindly, Moscow pressed on, birthing Project 22160 patrollers, a few vessels sans modules, ridiculed as a barren mock-up. Russian naval experts slam it as history's worst flop. Project 22160 was the most failed naval ship project in modern Russian history. Its shortcomings outweigh any advantages, there are none. Inadequate displacement sinks seaworthiness like a stone in stormy waters, modular arms never materialized, stranding ships with pitiful 76mm cannon and 14.5mm machine guns. The bitter sting of isolation, iron hulls creaking in idleness. Where's the promised versatility? Only embarrassment grows. You've seen tanks flop, ships fail similarly. But wait for the ultimate aviation abyss. Carrying over the sting of those stranded ships, our gaze shifts to the PAKDA, codenamed Product 80, Russia's B-2 Spirit bomber rival since the late 1980s. Known as Prospective Aviation Complex for long-range aviation, it started in the 1990s as a 5th-gen dream, now up to 6th-gen claims as years slip by like sand. Mimicking the B-2's fixed wings, radar-absorbing skin, no-tail fins, it promises 7,500 miles or 12,000 kilometers range, 30-ton payload, extreme stealth with internal munitions bay, supersonic speed sans afterburners, lasers, networked warfare, even autonomy. Hypocrisy reigns, U.S. fleets soar freely, but Russia's ghost languishes. Aerial forces cling to creaking Tu-95 Bears, their thunderous propellers a farce. Is this phantom the final betrayal, cold drafts whispering through empty hangars of what could have been? The pause stretches, as competitors circle triumphantly. Imagine this, Russia's military boasts echo across the globe, promising world-shaking power, but what if their grandest dreams crumble into dust before our eyes? From tanks that stall in parades to jets that never soar, uncover 5 epic flops that expose the Kremlin's hollow hype. Could these failures signal the end of an empire's illusions? Dive in, as shadows of defeat loom large. 347 characters, in the heart of Moscow's Grand Victory Day parade in 2015, gleaming under the sun's harsh glare, a revolutionary beast rolled forward, the T-14 Armata tank. Promised as the world's mightiest armored guardian, it was meant to crush foes with unmatched fury. Yet, amid the cheers and rumbling engines, it froze. Previously, we delved into Russia's hyped-up Su-75 fighter jet, the so-called Checkmate, which couldn't even take to the skies despite massive marketing and promises, stuck in reality as a fancy mock-up, overshadowed by real-world fighters like the F-35. Imagine a beast of steel, pounding through war-torn earth, its engines roaring like a thunderstorm heralding doom. But what if that monster crumbles under fire before it can roar back? Can a tank killer really live up to its name in the heat of battle? Or is it just another hollow promise from Moscow? Recall the chill of a hangar at dawn, the metallic scent of fresh welds clinging to your skin, the distant echo of drills reminding you of Soviet ingenuity born from Afghanistan's brutal sands. Back in those days, armored columns shattered under RPG blasts, forcing visions of protectors to emerge, a vehicle to shield tanks from ambushes. Fast forward through whispered debates in dimly lit factories, the buzz of machinery weaving dreams into metal. Enter the BMP-T Terminator, born from that legacy in the late 90s and ushered into service by 2011. A formidable 53-ton Guardian, bristling with firepower, a 230mm cannon, heavy machine guns, and Attica anti-tank missiles, poised to obliterate light vehicles, infantry carriers, and even choppers swooping like predatory birds. On paper, it dazzles, towering over lesser foes with layers of armor strong against mines and shrapnel shards. Yet, why does paper wilt when flames lick near? Despite its imposing bulk, the Terminator hauled the T-72 chassis, a clunky foundation exposed to modern threats. vapor. Sanctions starve supply chains, serial builds a far-off ruse. Now, Twist, the Terminator vehicle, produced en masse. Drones humming overhead? Missiles arcing down? Its turret, that once proud crown, cracks wide open to them. No divine shield blocks aerial assaults, leaving it vulnerable, a sitting duck in skies ruled by tech-savvy enemies. In theory, this armored leviathan pulls its weight. In brutal practice? A farce unfolds. Active since 2011, it avoided the front lines until May 2022, when Russia's 90th Tank Brigade and 76th Airborne stormed Donetsk's dust-choked roads in Ukraine. Cresting a ridge, guns blazing toward a distant highway, the Terminators unleashed hell. But Ukrainian artillery retaliated swiftly, shells whistling like vengeful harpies, forcing the BMPTs into a panicked retreat. Scuttling away, heart-pounding fears replaced boasts as explosions ripped the air, soil erupting in fiery geysers, the acrid smoke of defeat burning nostrils and eyes. It's not alone, though, these Russian vehicles often reveal critical design flaws. The armor sounds solid, warding off explosives and fragments, but it's a mirage against drones. Missiles streaking from above? They slip through unfazed. Does this proud creation truly protect, or is it an elaborate failure, squandering resources on a ghost armor that bogs down in mire? And if one machine hesitates, what fate awaits the entire fleet? Sparks fly from welding torches, but will they ignite victory, or just another embarrassing flicker in the gloom? What's next in this parade of disappointments, something even more audacious, or another twist that humiliates the claims of supremacy? From armored tombs to fleeting glories, Russia's arms race stumbles on. Yet. Great. Buried beneath the hype, a question lingers: when will the real protectors emerge, audible not in boasts, but in the quiet grind of proven might? Didn't that ridge in Donetsk feel ominously familiar, the thunder of retreated failures echoing distant explosions? What bargain did Moscow strike in the 1990s forges, only for it to shatter in 2022's onslaught? The Terminator roars forth, but who pulls the strings when the chain snaps? And looming ahead, could another marvel crumble even faster, exposing vulnerabilities in the heart of command? Amid the clamor, you sense it, the hum of a revelation about to detonate. Imagine the raw stench of damp earth, the deafening roar of artillery shells whistling overhead, as a soldier's hands tremble on a rusty control panel. Does Russia's so-called invincible tank fleet really crumble under real fire? In this tale of shattered boasts and battlefield heartbreaks, we'll unveil the truth behind Moscow's parade performers that turned into parade disasters. From supersonic missiles to main battle tanks, Russia's military boasts always promise world-shaking wonders, with President Vladimir Putin and his Kremlin allies unveiling fighter jets and missile systems meant to redefine war. Yet, time after time, these superweapons flop spectacularly, collecting dust in forgotten hangars as costly failures. Starting with the T-14 Armata, hailed as the world's best tank. Kremlin propaganda hyped it endlessly, from stamps to grand army plans for thousands. But flaws abound: an outdated engine, a complex turret vulnerable to basic gunfire, a faulty autoloader dropping fire rates to 1 round per minute, and protection systems blind to overhead strikes from drones. Even top brass admitted its unsuitability for war. Forget Ukraine sightings, it's too pricey, leaving troops with ancient T-62s. Flashback: picture the cold Moscow air, the metallic clang of tracks grinding on asphalt, the acrid smoke from engines during the 2015 parade rehearsal when an armada stalled, hints of disaster from the start. Can a jet exist merely on hype? Ridiculous. Transitioning from Armada's armored failure, we pivot to the skies, where the Su-75 Checkmate was unveiled as Russia's 5th-gen fighter marvel, a mock-up at airshows, promising 2023 flights that slipped to 2026. A $30 million marketing blitz included a perfume of alloys and juniper notes, yet it can't fly. Specs boast supersonic speeds, 7.4 tons of weapons, and stealth, but Russia's avionics can't detect F-35s, and missiles lack range without scarce A-50 warning planes, hammered by Ukraine. It's hype against reality: the F-35 fights, the Checkmate evaporates. How does a beast named Terminator flee in terror? Building on the Checkmate's grounded vanity. Enter the BMP-T Terminator, born from Afghan RPG nightmares in the 1990s, serving since 2011 with a 53-ton frame, 30mm cannons, machine guns, and anti-tank missiles for tank protection. But in Ukraine's Donetsk, May 2022, Ukrainian artillery scattered them in minutes. Their armor buckled, the air split with booming blasts, eliciting shrill beeps of retreating systems. Whiff of cordite, engine fumes, the jolt of retreat recalls Soviet tanks shredded amid Afghan dust, birthing this supposed guardian. What's worse than fighters of fumes? After the Terminator's shameful rout, Russia's bomber dreams founder. Its aerial fleet limps with outdated Soviet Tu-95s, bombed heavily in Ukraine's Operation Spiderweb strike. The Pakta stealth bomber, hyped for years at Kazan, Beriv, Novosibirsk plants, stays hypothetical, in development limbo. While a USB-21 Raider soars, sanctions block Russia's electronics and materials. No progress foreseen, forces cling to rusty Tu-95s as Ukraine strengthens with Magura drones, Neptune missiles, and allied aid. Echoes of frustrated shouts, the hum of idling engines, fingers gripping worn joysticks, visualize factories echoing hollow promises. But is this the end, or just another twist in the humiliation saga? Ukraine's Kyiv's army hunts secret weapons, obliterating them like the destroyed S-60 laser platform. Subscribe for more breakdowns on Russia's experimental flops versus Ukraine's rising might. In the grid of sanctions and sanctions sting, Russia's arsenal sags, while foes innovate boldly. The Pakta may rise, or rot in obscurity. What hidden flop lurks next? Previously, we delved into Russia's hyped-up Su-75 fighter jet, the so-called checkmate, which couldn't even take to the skies despite massive marketing and promises, stuck in reality as a fancy mock-up, overshadowed by real-world fighters like the F-35. Imagine a beast of steel, pounding through war-torn earth, its engines roaring like a thunderstorm heralding doom. But what if that monster crumbles under fire before it can roar back? Can a tank killer really live up to its name in the heat of battle, or is it just another hollow promise from Moscow? Recall the chill of a hangar at dawn, the metallic scent of fresh welds clinging to your skin, the distant echo of drills reminding you of Soviet ingenuity born from Afghanistan's brutal sands. Back in those days, armored columns shattered under RPG blasts, forcing visions of protectors to emerge, a vehicle to shield tanks from ambushes. Fast forward through whispered debates in dimly lit factories, the buzz of machinery weaving dreams into metal. Enter the BMP-T Terminator, born from that legacy in the late 90s and ushered into service by 2011, doubling the F-35 Joint Strike Fighter's prowess. But reality bites. Absent tech to spot foes like F-22 Raptors before lethal strikes hit, its defenses falter. American air-to-air missiles outrange Russian kin, needing support from early warning planes like the A-50 mainstay. Russia hoards just a dozen, battered by Ukrainian strikes that echo like distant thunder. In essence, vanity fuels this dream. Why swear superiority over an F-35 Lightning that flies combat victories when your Su-75 remains vapor? Sanctions-starved supply chains, serial builds a far-off ruse. Now, twist, the Terminator vehicle, produced en masse. Drones humming overhead? Missiles arcing down? Its turret, that once proud crown, cracks wide open to them. No divine shield blocks aerial assaults, leaving it vulnerable, a sitting duck in skies ruled by tech-savvy enemies. In theory, this armored leviathan pulls its weight. In brutal practice? A farce unfolds. Active since 2011, it avoided the front lines until May 2022, when Russia's 90th Tank Brigade and 76th Airborne stormed Donetsk's dust-choked roads in Ukraine. Cresting a ridge, guns blazing toward a distant highway, the Terminators unleashed hell. But Ukrainian artillery retaliated swiftly, shells whistling like vengeful harpies, forcing the BMP-Ts into a panicked retreat. Scuttling away, heart-pounding fears replaced boasts as explosions ripped the air, soil erupting in fiery geysers, the acrid smoke of defeat burning nostrils and eyes. It's not alone, though, these Russian vehicles often reveal critical design flaws. It's destruction, explosively eroding hopes. Yes, familiar folly emerges, one more Russian invention undermined. Ever wonder if armor can betray its guardians? The Terminator's flaws pierce like shrapnel. Its T-72-based hull repels mines, fragments stoutly, but the turret? Drones and missiles exploit that weak spot above, raining havoc unchallenged. What unseen terror lurks in design? Sensory overload, the whir of failing autoloaders, the stench of overheated metal, tactile jolts from battlefield tremors. Not a Terminator, but a lamb to slaughter. Yet, unveils a haunting twist, the Kremlin's pattern persists, hyping illusions that disintegrate. Russia's military boasts are famous for their grandeur, but behind the scenes, many of these innovations are just illusions. From hyped-up weapons to expensive failures, Moscow's claims rarely match reality. Today, we'll explore some of the biggest embarrassments in recent years, weapons touted as unstoppable, yet proven useless in actual combat. Are these grand projects just smoke and mirrors? Stay tuned to uncover shocking truths. Imagine a tank that Russia has called the world's best, yet during its debut parade, it suddenly stopped moving. The T-14 Armata promised to revolutionize armored warfare. Official designs boasted a stealthy profile, an unmanned turret, and blazing speeds. But reality hit hard. On day one, it faltered. Does this high-tech marvel really deliver? Or is it just a fantasy fueled by propaganda? The Armada's past is filled with broken promises. Since work started in 2009, it's been a symbol of dreams deferred. Grand plans called for thousands, yet only a handful have entered service by 2024. Its specs sound impressive, weighing up to 55 tons, a 1,500 horsepower engine, a 125mm gun capable of striking targets 8 kilometers away. It's supposed to be invisible to radar and infrared sensors. But appearances deceive. Experts have exposed critical flaws: an outdated engine, an overly complex unmanned turret vulnerable to small arms fire, and a defense system so poorly placed that it can't protect from aerial attacks. Could a vehicle with so many weaknesses truly dominate on the battlefield? Or is this yet another illusion? Even high-profile figures admit the truth. Former aerospace leaders say the Armata isn't suited for modern war. So, why has Russia invested billions in a tank that never appears where it should? Despite the Kremlin's claims of entering Ukraine in 2023, no verified sightings exist. The military quietly admits it's too costly to deploy. Instead, troops rely on older tanks, T-90s, T-62s, the relics of a bygone era. When will this shiny mirage finally fade? Now, let's look to the skies. Russia unveiled its new fighter jet, the Sukhoi Su-75 Checkmate, in 2021. Promises of a fifth-generation marvel filled the air's roar. Yet, what do we see? A static mock-up at airshows, a shell, a hollow promise. Official plans said it should have flown by 2023, then 2024. But the jet's maiden flight remains indefinitely postponed. Meanwhile, Russia's spending millions on aerodynamic perfume inspired by this aircraft, an absurd marketing stunt. Yet, the real aircraft stays grounded. Could this shiny new fighter ever fly? Or is it another mirage designed to boost national pride? The Checkmate specs sound amazing: a stealthy, twin-engine multi-role fighter capable of reaching twice the speed of sound, armed with up to 7.4 tons of weapons, and flying over 1,800 miles. It aims to rival the American F-35, with cutting-edge electronic warfare gear. But reality isn't as kind. Russia's avionics can't detect top-tier fighters like the F-35 and F-22. Its missiles are outmatched in range and precision. Despite the hype, the jet remains a concept, more fantasy than fact. Can Russia's defense industry ever turn this vision into reality, or is it doomed to stay just that, an illusion? But Russia's failures aren't limited to aerial or armored projects. The BMP-T Terminator, a heavily armed combat vehicle designed for urban fightings, was supposed to be a game-changer. Developed after tank crews faced RPG threats in Afghanistan, it packs a punch with a 2 to 30 mm cannon, heavy machine guns, and anti-tank missiles. Yet, in Ukraine, it proved to be another nightmare. The first combat deployment in 2022 ended swiftly with Ukrainian artillery forcing the Tukhatty-driven behemoth to flee. Was it designed for victory, or just another victim of poor planning? What went wrong in this armored monster's supposed reign? Meanwhile, Russia's biggest rival, the United States, is already flying next-generation bombers like the B-21 Raider. Moscow's own stealth aircraft projects are stuck in endless delays, hamstrung by sanctions and technical setbacks. The PAC-D aircraft, their supposed future fighter bomber, remains a pipe dream bogged down in development hell. While Washington sharpens its strategic advantage, Moscow is left with relics, illusions, and costly failures. How long can this cycle of hype and disappointment continue? In the shadows of these failures, Ukrainian forces grow stronger, innovating and destroying. They target Putin's secret weapons, like the rumored airborne laser platform, turning the tide with new technology. Every failed project Russia pours money into, Ukraine finds a way to counter or obliterate. Is this the beginning of the end for Moscow's military illusions? Or can Russia still salvage its shattered reputation before it's too late? The truth remains hidden behind layers of propaganda. But one thing is clear: time exposes all illusions. The grand projects that once promised dominance are now just reminders of broken dreams. Behind every shiny tank or jet, there's a story of overconfidence, underperformance, and costly mistakes. Russia's military boasts are slowly unraveling, revealing a face far removed from its propaganda's glare. Will these failures redefine the future of warfare? Or are they just the opening chapters of a long, humiliating decline? The Armada's gun, despite its impressive specs on paper, faces critical vulnerabilities that threaten its battlefield viability. One major flaw is the autoloader system. If it fails, the crew is forced to manually load the gun, drastically reducing its firing rate to just 1 round per minute. Imagine the tense silence inside the tank, a moment of vulnerability that could cost lives. But the problems don't stop there. The advanced protection system, known as Afghanet, was supposed to shield the tank from incoming threats. Sadly, its design is flawed. The mortars protecting the vital parts of the armor are placed beneath the turret. This placement makes intercepting high-angle strikes nearly impossible. Modern anti-tank missiles and kamikaze drones aim precisely from above, exploiting this weakness. As cracks in the armor and systems emerged, even top Russian officials had to admit the harsh truth. Dmitry Rogozin, the former head of Russia's Aerospace Corporation, openly declared, "The Armada simply isn't fit for combat." His words cut deep, casting doubt on the entire project. If the Armada truly was a revolutionary war machine, why has it been practically invisible on the battlefield? Despite claims it entered service in 2023, not a single T-14 has been spotted during the ongoing conflict in Ukraine. In 2024, a stark admission was made. Sergei Chemisov, a senior Rostec deputy, admitted that the tank's cost was too high to be practical in current operations. Instead, Russia relies on proven models, the T-90 and even ancient Soviet tanks like the T-62. Expensive, flawed, and more showpiece than weapon, the Armada has become a symbol of unfulfilled promises and wasted resources. But what about Russia's next big hope? The Sukhoi Checkmate fighter jet, initially hailed as the future of Russian air dominance, has faced similar failures. Unveiled in 2021 at elite air shows in Moscow and Dubai, the jet has yet to take flight. On both occasions, it was displayed only as a non-flying mock-up, a shiny illusion with no real military value. Promises were made that it would soar by 2023, but it's a future that keeps slipping further away. The aircraft's first powered flight has been postponed year after year, 2024, then 2025, now 2026. The world watches, waiting for a jet that might never come to life. Meanwhile, Russia poured an astonishing $30 million into marketing this fantasy. Promotional videos, futuristic teasers, even a scent inspired by the aircraft, all of it a hollow effort. Could this aircraft's failure be more symbolic than just a technological setback? As the silence of the airfield grows heavier, questions linger. If the Checkmate never takes to the skies, will Russia's ambition to dominate the future of aerial warfare vanish with it? Or is there a deeper story of pride and failed promises lurking behind the sleek facade?